So two great parables from Mark's Gospel this morning, the first of which talks about the sowing of seed, and then unbeknownst to the person who plants that seed, it grows into a mighty crop, and then activity comes in again. And secondly, the contrast between the tiny, tiny mustard seed and the huge plant that grows. All of these things talked about by Jesus to a group of people plus the disciples who seek additional teaching. Now, of course, in that early stage of Jesus' ministry, people were beginning to ask, so when's stuff going to happen? You're talking about the kingdom of heaven. When's it all going to come about? And that first parable really encourages us and allows us to relax in our ministries of love, to leave it all to God. We plant, for sure, we must do that. We must show love through our actions. We must demonstrate the difference that God's love in our hearts makes to us, and be confident in the way that we share that with people and be totally open about it. But we leave everything else to God. It's in God's time when somebody may or may not open their own heart to God, when they may or may not experience God's grace for themselves, in this life at least. But if at the end people come back, and of course as a result of that seed sowing they ask you questions and they seek something from you, well then that's the time for the harvest. That's the time to talk about the things that matter to us in language which otherwise might seem tactless and insensitive. We come at the end when people seek and give them what they need. But initially we share unconditionally, we love unconditionally, because that's how we ourselves have been dealt with. So that's a great way of affirming to people that all activity that tries to serve God is useful, but don't get disheartened if nothing happens, because it's all in God's time. It's all about when God works in and through that person. Nothing you can do or say or strive to can make any difference, but you are called upon to plant seeds. And the reason why I do this is the second parable, because the difference between being in a relationship with God, which is the mighty mustard tree, and not, which is the seed, is strikingly different. Just as the size difference between those two things is strikingly different, so is a life ignorant or unaware of how much you're loved by God compared with one that knows that. An amazing transformation, the good news, the reason why. We want to share with tact and with love and care, but we want to share this with people, not to gather people into our club, but so that more people experience the joy that we know in our hearts.